I'm currently outside of the hotel here in Bergen, Bargon, something like that. It starts with a B and it ends with an N. It's got an R in it. It's got some O sounds. That one. Um, big city in Maine. I can never remember the name of this one specifically. The entire time that we've been here, I've never been able to remember the name of this fucking town. When I hear it, it's like, oh yeah, that's exactly what it is, but I can never remember it. But in any case, I've just been out here waiting to get to Caribou, um, all the way up, northeast Maine. You know, it's known as the most northeastern part of the United States. You can't get much further north than Caribou in terms of the U.S. unless you go to Canada, which, you know, is Canada. So, I've been just out here traveling like a maniac. I've not, I've not been able to work on any videos. I've just been dealing with so much personal stuff in terms of real life and to some extent the internet, even though I haven't really been connected to the internet, but whatever. It's just so much going on. In the process of working through all that, I've realized right now, I'm probably more emotionally numb than I've ever been. And give you an example of this. Earlier today, my mom told me she wanted to commit suicide. Now, I know my mother. I know she wouldn't go through with it to any meaningful extent as long as I'm there to talk to her. I had that hope, but she was crying. She was right there. She was saying all of these things. She was very upset. And I was sitting there, and I just didn't know how to react. I didn't have the emotions. I didn't have the words that were meant to express what I feel like most other humans would. I was just sitting there and I was telling her words of comfort. I was sitting there and I was letting her know how much I cared and why she needed to continue. The emotions, the emotional empathy that you're supposed to feel in that type of situation, the tears that you're supposed to shed, I just didn't have any. I think maybe by this point I've just shed so many that I can't seem to do it anymore. To where that instance where I had to talk my own mother down from a place of great despair just felt like a normal occurrence. To where it just felt like the next thing I had to do that day. I don't think things like that should feel so normal. I don't think I should be so numb to such emotionally draining things. But I am. That concerns me. It concerns me how I react to these things in such a robotic manner. I always have to some extent. To some extent, I've always been a little bit more analytical and discharged from the situation itself, but lately it's been worse than it has ever been. And I try to feign some sort of emotion. I try to present myself as if there's something, at least something there to provide a sense of comfort, to, provide a sense of humanity, because people find solace in compassion. They find solace in the fact that you can feel the emotions that they're feeling in a direct sense. When you show that physically, it gives them a sense of comfort because it shows that you understand. You can't necessarily do that when you act as robotic as I am in situations like that. And my emotional response was just so inappropriate. I comforted her, and I was right there, and I told her everything that you needed to tell someone in that situation, but the emotional response was just null and void. I don't think I've ever been this emotionally numb, or been times when I've been pretty bad, times when I've wanted to do terrible things, but this consistently, with this level of severity, this is new. This is really concerning me. I mean, it's one of those things where you just kind of have to go on, you know? It's one of those things where, you know, you begin to have so much hope for humanity and for the future that, you know, even something as great and large as this, you just kind of have to move past it. Maybe that's part of where the numbness comes from. Maybe part of the numbness is hope. You know, I sit here and I realize things can be better to such a great extent that you know, I have such large optimism that, you know, it overrides the fear, it overrides the upset that one would typically have in a situation like that. Who knows? Probably my medication. SSRIs, for many people, make it to where they stop crying, it makes it to where they stop empathizing with people in the same way. I did some research about that earlier today, and I mean, I was always kind of emotionally numb, but like, at that point, it, you know, it just gotten to where, like, it was at the point where it was, you know, worse than it had ever been. So I do think it's something to think about, you know, from now on. I feel like it's something that should probably be checked out, because without a watchful eye on board, it could easily end up blowing up somehow. Well, it's one of those things where you have to pay attention.